Hello, and welcome back to MysHistory. I'm Rhonda, and this is where I talk about odd or unsolved historical mysteries. And if that sounds like something that you might be interested in, then please consider subscribing. I hope you've been doing well this week. Oh my goodness. Was it a mob hit? What does the movie Jaws have to do with it? Who is the Lady of the Dunes? So we're back in the United States, where I should presumably have an easier time pronouncing things. Let's see how it goes. This takes place in the summer of 1974 in Provincetown, Massachusetts, where a young girl was out for a walk with her family. Apparently, the family had met up with some friends and had some lunch, and afterwards, the family decided that they were going to take a walk along the Race Point Dunes. The young girl, Leslie, who was 12 at the time, was walking with her family and a friend's dog. The dog caught the scent of something and excitedly took off. Leslie decided she would follow the dog, and that's where she discovered a now decomposing body of a young woman, which, according to some stories, she initially thought was a dead deer due to the coloration of the skin. Leslie would report this to her parents, who would then go to the area that Leslie was talking about, and they would see a woman who was nude, laying on a blanket, with jeans and a blue bandana under her head. Remember the Isdal woman case a couple episodes ago? I'll link that. And it was a young girl out for a walk with her family, as she was probably, I want to say, 12, if I'm not mistaken, when she discovered the dead body of the Isdal woman. And here's little Leslie, 12 years old, some years later, in 1974, discovering the body of a dead woman. Like, childhood forever totally ruined. Like, how do you recover from that? Like, ever? I don't know. Anyway, Leslie and her parents would walk back to the dune shack, and they would report what they found to a bunch of people there. One person would hop in his Jeep, or her Jeep, where they would pick up a park ranger to go out to the scene. And eventually the police were contacted about this dead body in the dunes. There is a rumor, though, that Leslie was not the first person to discover this body. Allegedly, 2 days prior to Leslie discovering the body, a young girl, 9 years old at the time, named Sandra Lee, was on a camping trip with her family, was out walking her dog when she stumbled across the dead body. It is said that she was too afraid to tell anyone what she saw. Police eventually would arrive at the scene and make note that the woman was lying face down on only one half of a green beach blanket. The jeans under her head were a Wrangler brand, accompanied by a blue bandana. There were wounds to her head, which was a sign of serious blunt force trauma. And it appeared that her throat had been cut almost to the point of decapitation. It was believed that the wounds to her head were caused by some sort of military entrenching tool. Some of her teeth had been removed, and where her hands should have been were actually bundles of pine needles. There were also signs that she was sexually assaulted. One report was that the sexual assault was likely with a block of wood and occurred after she was already deceased. People have serious problems. They have serious problems. People are sick. It was also reported at the time that at about 15 feet from where they found the woman's body, they discovered tire tracks and 2 sets of footprints leading away from the body. It was estimated that she died sometime between 10 days to 3 weeks prior to her discovery. Initially, it was believed that she might have been killed while she slept on the beach. Due to the fact that she was occupying only one half of the blanket, it was assumed that she may have had a companion with her at some point. Further, it was a held belief that her hands and teeth had been removed in an attempt to hide her identity. Really? But this was 1974. Forensics then, totally different than forensics now. The woman was buried October 19th, 1974 at St. Peter's Cemetery in Provincetown, with a stone simply reading, "Unidentified female body found Race Point Dunes, July 26, 1974. Unidentified woman." That's really sad. During the autopsy of the woman, it was determined that she was likely between the ages of 25 and 35 years of age, with auburn or reddish hair. It was in a ponytail held back by a glittery elastic band. She had an athletic build, weighed somewhere around 145 pounds, and was approximately 5 feet 6 inches tall. Her toenails were painted pink. Pathologists also noted the high-quality dental work that the woman had done in her existing teeth and described the gold crowns as, quote, New York-style work, and that would not come cheap. Wait. The Isdal woman had, like, all of those, remember? Just thought of that, sorry. Whoa. All right. And the Isdal woman's case had similarities to the Somerton man. Are these all connected? Sorry. Investigators, they were searching missing persons reports as well as high-end dentists. They released a sketch of the woman's face based on, what they could see, hoping that maybe the public would be able to help them out. They would further search the area where her body was found for any additional clues, but sadly none were found. Whoever left her there left her to look as if she were serenely sleeping, and only a few dozen feet from where people would come to explore the coast. Brazen. Just brazen. According to one investigator, Warren Tobias, quote, "She was definitely posed there. She was lying out on a beach towel as if she was sunbathing. Sunbathing naked." This would lead, though, to investigators thinking that although there was blood at the scene, they were pretty sure that she was killed somewhere else and then placed there. Tobias would further speculate perhaps she, quote, wasn't from this country and was from somewhere else completely. Cut off news from here. Perhaps she was an orphan and maybe she didn't have any family. From the sketch released by the police came a few leads. A Maryland woman thought that perhaps the sketch resembled her sister due to the fact that her sister had auburn hair. The woman stated that she and her sister had lost touch after her sister moved to Boston a few months prior to the murder. Presumably, police were never able to confirm a match, and it's unknown if this lead was further investigated. Another woman in Canada would come forward to the police in 1987 to tell the story of how she had witnessed her father strangle a woman in Providence in 1974 when she was 5. Royal Canadian Mounted Police would pass the information on to Massachusetts, but by the time the police were able to try to contact the woman, she had already moved, and apparently they were never able to track her down. I realize Providence and Provincetown are both on the East Coast, but they are in two different states. Providence, Rhode Island, Provincetown, Massachusetts, unless she meant Provincetown, Massachusetts, but she said Providence, Rhode Island. Anyway, another lead that caught the attention of the police was that the woman could possibly have been Rory Jean Kessinger. Rory was a drug dealer and a bank robber, was 24 in 1974, and had escaped from the Plymouth County Correctional Facility in 1973, where it said that she was serving time for assault with intent to kill. Sounds like a lovely person. DNA from Rory's mother did not match that of the Lady of the Dunes, and so she was dismissed as a possibility. The victim's identity was not known, and so too was any potential suspect, but that didn't stop the authorities. They would consider several men to be the primary suspect, one of which being mob boss James Whitey Bulger. James was said to have frequented the area, spending most of his time at a place called the Crown and Anchor, where he engaged in drugs and arms deals. Allegedly, he and his henchmen would erase the identities of their victims by pulling out their teeth. According to reports, a woman that Bulger was said to have strangled was found in a marshy area at the Neponset River, and her teeth were also missing. Were all of her teeth missing? Were some of her teeth missing? Because the Lady of the Dunes only had some of her teeth missing, not all of her teeth missing.
Maybe the dude that killed her just ran out of time to pull out all her teeth.
But wouldn't you want the gold? I don't know. Bulger was said to have been in the area in June of 1974 in Provincetown with a woman who resembled the Lady of the Dunes. Bulger was murdered in 2018 by fellow inmates, so any information he may have had on the victim died with him. Well-known killer Hayden Clark once confessed to murdering the Lady of the Dunes. Authorities don't believe him. It is said that he suffers from paranoid schizophrenia, and certain elements of his story just didn't add up. Here's the crazy connection to the movie Jaws. This comes from Joe Hill, who is the son of Stephen King. Yes, that's Stephen King. Which reminds me of this time. Long time ago. I worked in a tavern in the state of Washington. And I'm working one day, the phone rings. Ring, ring, ring. Hello, XYZ Tavern. And the woman on the other end is asking for Stephen King. And I'm like, yeah, okay, hold on. And I put the phone down. Ring, ring, hello, yeah, okay, yeah, sure. Yeah, because Stephen King's going to be hanging out here. So I page, oh, Stephen King, you have a telephone call. And within short order, a guy does come up to the bar where we have a phone where customers can take or make phone calls. I have a phone call. Are you Stephen King? He said, yeah. Really? There's a phone there. And then he's like, who was it? Apparently the woman had hung up. And I said, I don't know. It was some woman calling for you. Your name is really Stephen King? And he had to show me his ID. Apparently she might have heard me go, yeah, because Stephen King's hanging out here. I mean, I guess maybe it never dawned on her that her husband, boyfriend, whatever he was to her, had the same name as some sort of famous author. And fans of the author are going to go, yeah, right. Anyway, I digress. Joe believes it's possible that prior to her death, the lady in the dunes, was an extra in the movie Jaws. According to him, there's a scene in the movie that is 54 minutes, 2 seconds in, which is just like weird that he would pay attention to when that was. Oddly specific. Anyway, it's a crowd of people that's being shot. It's supposed to be 4th of July. And it was during this scene that he spotted a woman wearing a blue bandana with brown hair. And he thought that the extra bore a, quote, startling resemblance to the sketch of the unidentified woman found in the dunes, even though she had red hair. According to Joe, quote, "What if the young murder victim no one has ever been able to identify has been seen by hundreds of millions of people in a beloved summer classic and they don't even know they were looking at her? What if the ghost of the Lady of the Dunes haunts Jaws?" Beloved summer classic. The movie looks terrifying. I've never seen it. I don't like to swim in water that I can't see the bottom of. I just don't. And then my husband's like, "Oh, we'll have to watch it. It's a great movie." No! That'll make me want to go swim in the ocean. Never. Like I said, I told him, I don't even like swimming in lakes. I don't like it if I can't see straight to the bottom. I have a thing. Anyway. It seems a bit out there, and even Joe says as much, stating that the lady in the scene wasn't wearing the same type of Wranglers that were found with the victim. And he further noted that, there were at least 6 other women in the shot also wearing blue bandanas, because it was 1974 and that was a popular look. Production of the movie in Martha's Vineyard attracted quite a bit of attention in looky-loos, right? So it's roughly 100 miles from Provincetown on the Cape. And Joe would write, "It would be no surprise at all if the girl summering on the Cape decided to take a few days to explore the vineyard, especially with the added bait of celebrity to draw her in." So apparently he would speak to an FBI agent that he knew. And the FBI agent would say, "It might be worth going forward with your theory. There might be something in it. Odder ideas have cracked colder cases." Interesting. Studio records from the time weren't helpful because extras in film back then weren't tracked as meticulously as they are today. The casting director for the movie has since passed away, and there was nothing at all to gain from the archives at Universal. So, as I stated, the woman is buried at St. Peter's Cemetery in Provincetown, but not with her head. Her head has been kept by law enforcement during the ongoing investigation to figure out who she is. There has been facial reconstruction done of the victim over the years with clay, and more recently with high-tech scans used to create yet another model of her face. In 1980, her body was exhumed and blood samples were taken by forensic investigators. This offered no new information in the case. Her body would be exhumed again in 2000 for DNA testing to see if she were actually Rory Jean Kessinger, which, as I stated earlier, she was not. Now her DNA samples are being kept, and with each advance in technology, they're tested again. Most recently, 2019 to be exact, the DA for the Cape and the Islands opened a new investigation into the mystery. His plan is to attempt genetic genealogy to identify the woman. This was the method that they used to identify the Golden State Killer after 50 years. So there's hope that this would help to identify the Lady of the Dunes. And if you're not familiar with genetic genealogy, think of Ancestry.com, 23andMe, where people are sending in their samples for DNA to track their genetic genealogy and figure out where they came from. That is how they caught the Golden State Killer. I think there was another killer that they also caught that way. And I know that it's something that they were considering in Australia in the case of identification for the Somerton Man. This murder, though, here in Provincetown, is the oldest unidentified dead person in Massachusetts included in the clearinghouse records. Leslie, the young girl who discovered the woman in 1974 at the age of 12, passed away in 1996. So what are your thoughts about this? What do you think happened? Who do you think it was? Do you think it could have been James Whitey Bulger, trying to get off, kill somebody, get rid of her for some reason, like maybe she saw something she wasn't supposed to see? I don't know. She was obviously murdered because, you're not going to cut off your own hands and stuff and be able to create that kind of trauma to your head and neck and bunch up a bunch of pine needles and then just lay down and go to sleep. I don't think you have long enough to do that. But what do you think? What are your thoughts? Let me know down in the comments below. What do you think of using genetic genealogy by law enforcement to find identities of victims or even killers? I think that kind of is a slippery slope. I do. But anyway, don't forget to like, subscribe, and click that bell icon to be notified of videos that I post in the future. Also, share this video. Maybe we can all help identify the lady in the dunes. There's got to be somebody out there that's missing her. Until next time, stay safe out there. It's a crazy world. Bye.